The president and first lady now battling COVID-19 should be a wake-up call for the Trump administration and the country. That from Maryland, Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen today. We talked this afternoon.
I wish the president and the first lady and the White House staff a speedy recovery, as I wish the hundreds of thousands of Americans who right now are also infected with the coronavirus a speedy recovery. And the fact that the virus reached the highest office in the land should be a reminder to all of us to take this very seriously. The president, of course, has downplayed, those are his words, the seriousness of this virus. He's been dismissive of many of the recommendations coming out from his own health agencies. He's mocked people who wear masks, including Vice President Biden. So I hope this will be a wake-up call.
What about Capitol Hill now? Are you being tested regularly? What about your colleagues? What about your staff? What are we doing on Capitol Hill to make sure we don't have a similar situation?
Well, on Capitol Hill, we should have testing and rapid testing readily available, as we should do that, Bruce, throughout the country. Right now on Capitol Hill, for members of Congress who want to get tested, it's available, but has not been available to congressional staff. It should be, just as it should be available to all Americans who are in the categories where they should get tested according to the CDC. And
what do we have to do to make sure that it's available to all of the staff?
I mean, the Congress just needs to make sure that they get enough testing kits so that they're available, and to let people know that everybody who needs a test can get one. But I want to emphasize the fact this should be true around the country.
Sure.
And if we'd fully deployed the Defense Production Act, we would have comprehensive, rapid testing. We used to crank out hundreds of bombers a day during World War II. And the fact that we've not been able to crank out enough tests for the country right now is really a national embarrassment.
Senator Van Hollen says the president's quarantine could impact a second debate with former Vice President Joe Biden, who tested negative. Of course, he was out on the campaign trail in Michigan.